the Citizen Mike Show. Thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. My name is Mike Burdinsky. Somewhere on that split screen is Democratic Town Councilor Vinnie Testa. Vinnie, thanks for coming back to the Citizen Mike Show. We've got a lot of ground to cover, but the first thing I want to cover is, did you know that our comptroller has retired? His last official day is April 9.
I did not.
Yeah, April 9. I bet his papers have been in for quite a while. It's a well-kept secret, but now it's going to be out of the bag. I'm expecting him to be around part-time for the budget workshops, but that's going to put a new wrinkle on things. And, towards the month of May and June, you're going to see Tim, the assistant in that position. So there you go.
He's hiring all new department heads.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that before we get to this questionnaire? You're going to cross-examine me in a minute, but any thoughts on our comptroller, Jim Bowes, retiring?
Well, I think Jim has served the town faithfully and well for many, many years. He's always been open to any questions or concerns I've had as a counselor. I know he's been responsive to everybody else who's, ever asked him anything.
Okay.
And he does his best to help us to understand what's going on. But just as the gentleman before him many, many years ago, who really designed everything that under which we still operate, did his job his way. Jim has, done his job his way. And I don't have any complaints. I think he's done a great job.
Yeah. And you didn't know I was going to tell you that, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. It's kind of a late breaking thing. So when we ended last show a couple weeks ago, you had mentioned a survey being put out by the Democratic Town Committee. You said they were contacting Wallingford Democrats and putting a series of questions to them, and you challenged me a little bit. You said, hey, I want to give you this survey, Mike, see how you do. And I said, okay, I'm game, Vinnie, but you've got to answer the same questions. And so we have a pact. And
Sure.
So let's pick up where we left off.
Okay.
What do you got?
Bring over my iPad so I can read it. And it's what we're doing is people are going out both door to door. Action weekends, we're calling them and even during the week, some people are getting out knocking on doors. People are making phone calls. All of the newer candidates, especially, are making sure they're getting themselves known. But as I mentioned earlier, the objective here is to get a read from our fellow Democrats at this point, and then unaffiliated voters after that, regarding what they feel is important, or whether they agree or disagree with some of the priorities that we are setting forth, and that will allow us to fine-tune a campaign message, if you will, platform heading into the election. So here we go.
Hit me.
All right. Hello. So voter name, Mr. Mike Burdinsky.
Yeah.
Have your email, your address, your phone number, apparently.
You got all that.
Hello, my name is Vinnie Testa. I'm a volunteer for the Wallingford Democratic Town Committee.
Okay.
I'm actually one of the potential exploratory candidates for mayor, as well as potentially town council. And all of us as candidates would like to hear what you think about important issues in our town. Number one, what I would like you to do is to indicate whether you strongly agree, you're neutral, you disagree, or you strongly disagree. So that's the range. Strongly agree, strongly disagree, in the middle, or whatever.
Okay.
And then any comments you might want to provide afterwards. So number one, the statement is that Wallingford town government needs to update and upgrade its technological infrastructure because it is not meeting the current and future needs of residents. You say you strongly agree with that?
I would say I'm going to annotate my answer with an asterisk here. I agree somewhat. Here's my commentary on that. So it's sort of I agree somewhat. So the technology issue has been kicking around the Democratic circles forever, almost 2 decades, and things have changed since this technology issue first came up, because I remember when I ran, I mentioned technology too. So it's like a 15 to 20-year issue. But policy is a little different. The mayor's policy on how he handles technology is a little different than the infrastructure. I'm going to sort of mingle both, because I think the question maybe implicates both. I'm not really sure. I mean, I certainly, I think Wallingford could do better and needs to do better, but it's all a matter of degree and cost. And there's some things that are really easy to do, like Wi-Fi at the town hall. That's cheap, that's simple, you could do that. It's policy, that's not really infrastructure. And that's a small potatoes issue, I think, with the general public. You could say, well, there aren't answering machines. There isn't an answering service if you call a town hall and no one's there. That's small potatoes too, and I think that's policy. We have the age-old internet issue, and back in the day, maybe 10, 15 years ago, people were lined up on the third floor. Department heads, employees were lined up on the third floor to use the only or almost the only computer that had access to the internet. And since then, things have changed. More department heads have access to the internet. The town clerk has a much improved website where you can actually look on land records or things. You can register and pay Park and Rec now through their website. So, things have come a long way, but there still needs to be, there's more we can do, more we probably should be doing, but we really need an objective person to go around to the department heads, interview them and say, what do you need and what do you not have, and get a list. I mean, this administration is certainly not going to do that. But that's what needs to be done. And over the years, the Democrats have not really been specific, except for these small potato issues, as to whether we need, something major. Your thoughts now?
Well, I strongly agree with that statement that we need to upgrade and update and upgrade. I even looked into the possibility of providing broadband service townwide, which that's already an old issue that would not be cost effective, but we'd have the potential for getting involved in 5G. And it's one way to look at some of the infrastructure money that might be available from the government through the new bills that have been passed, not the stimulus bill, the potentially $2 trillion infrastructure bill that the president is proposing. But anyway, I think we should go as far as we can, personally. I agree with you that there have been steps taken to improve certain offices and their abilities to do certain things. But I think what the average citizen would love to see is the basic stuff that we don't have. And that's the ability to pay your bills online, the ability to interact more quickly and easily with everybody who works for the town.
Yeah, let me two things.
That kind of stuff there.
Yeah, if I can pick up on this, I never understood the issue about paying your bills online. I have, and most people have, or I bank at Bank of America. They have online banking service, and most folks bank at a similar bank. I pay all my bills online. I pay my electric bill online. I write checks to the IRS when the time comes, so I have no problem writing a check to the town for taxes. Sure. So that I don't understand. Compare Wallingford to Southington when it comes to internet and interacting. When you go on Southington's website, for example, from time to time I've occasion to compare Southington to Wallingford, sort of maybe a comparable town. You go on their website and all the department heads have their email addresses linked right to their name. If you want to go to a department head, you click on it and the email is automatic, whereas Wallingford keeps those emails almost a secret. So that's a policy thing, I think. But anyway.
And I know that paying a lot of people say the same thing. I pay with my bank and my bank sends it. That's not the do all end all. It's really, it's representative. It's representative of a minor thing that just demonstrates that there's little interest in utilizing technology to improve the accessibility of government to the average person.
Okay.
That's your comment. I had nearly enough room on this comment line to write all of your extra comments. You're worse than I am.
I know.
Right. Number 2, community pool. The community pool is a valuable town asset, and its preservation and renovation should be a priority for the benefit of all residents.
Yep, strongly agree.
Very good.
Rebuild the pool.
As do I. which is where I think we should putting a bunch of the extra money we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
Number three, because Wallingford school buildings are aging and outdated, the best plan for the future of education is one that invests wisely in state-of-the-art facilities, provides the highest standards of education, and promotes a strong sense of belonging for all students.
All right, there's three parts. I just want to take them in order, and I may need you to refresh my memory. The first was state of the art. Was that?
The fact that because they're aging and outdated, the best plan, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
for the future, invest wisely in state-of-the-art facilities.
All right, let's stop there for a minute. I'm always in favor of investing wisely rather than unwisely or foolishly. So aspirationally, absolutely, let's invest wisely. Invest is another word for spend. I mean, so I don't want to sort of camouflage that word. Spending wisely, absolutely. Let's get to state of the art for a minute. If the decision is to go with one high school, then I think it's more feasible and plausible and practical and realistic and more than reach to go state of the art with one high school rather than two. But I don't know enough about what state of the art means as compared to something less than that. So with that caveat, I'm going to say I agree as a matter of aspirational goals. I would like to see really a great high school. It's more practical if it's one high school, and I think it could be more state of the art. What's the next component of the question?
Provides the highest standards of education.
Well, again, aspirationally, of course, absolutely. Let's hope and strive for the best possible. Does that mean doubling the budget of the Board of Education, doubling your salary? No, it doesn't mean that. Does it mean another 20% for the Board of Education's budget? No, it doesn't mean that. Again, it has to be tempered with reason and practicality.
Doesn't reference spending.
What's that?
That part of the question does not reference spending.
Well, it does to me, and I'm the guy opening the door to you. Yeah.
You believe our school system should provide the highest standard of education.
Well, aspirationally, of course, everyone agrees.
Aspirationally.
All right.
It promotes a strong sense of belonging for all students.
That I don't understand. I'm not sure what it means. Is someone saying that there's like a sense of alienation across the schools?
I think it's making all efforts possible to ensure that there is not. Not that there necessarily is one, but
Yeah,
I'm focused on making sure every student in that building feels that they belong, that they're a part of that community, and is not alienated.
well, as a matter of general values, I say every person, every human being wants every child to be as comfortable as possible in his or her own skin. As a matter of public policy and a political plank, I'm neutral on that. I don't know where that's going. I don't know.
Gotcha.
What else?
The town of Wallingford needs to commit to a plan.
Hold it, before you go, are you one high school or two? I answered the question.
That's not what the question asked.
Oh, sorry. Go back to state of the art.
I felt strongly that all this stuff was good. The town of Wallingford needs to commit to a plan of clean energy and sustainable living for the future of our residents and businesses.
A plan of clean energy. I think clean energy is nice. I think plans are nice. I think a plan implicates action. Action implicates money. And I strongly believe that the local government should not get involved in spending money on a clean energy plan. That's a matter for state and the national government. So I'm really uncomfortable with that. If there's little grants we can apply for, terrific, and things we can do that don't cost money, but I don't think that's what the question asked. A plan of clean energy, not comfortable with it, strongly disagree.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I see it as pursuing any options we can to allow people to pursue solar energy if they wish. Have the
They
time
can now. They can now. I mean,
as well as they'd like to. Have our public utility be a little bit more amenable, I think, to the development of solar energy. And sustainable living is just really a continued focus on um, promoting recycling and the like.
Well, I guess I had a different idea of what a plan is. I thought it was going to be a real plan rather than,
Putting in the sometimes small things like making sure we put in charging stations for electric cars, that type of thing.
yeah, not a town cost. No, strongly disagree.
Setting an example.
Yeah, strongly disagree that taxpayers should fund that.
When you commit a plan, it's really you're trying to set an example that you'd like to see people follow.
Can't afford examples on the taxpayer's dollar. No.
Okay.
That's a political statement. It's,
All right.
yeah.
Wallingford's town government
Yes.
needs to support existing businesses, attract new businesses, and develop lagging areas such as lower downtown by the historic train station for the future of our economic growth.
Well, the question presents some problems. Every government across the world needs to attract new businesses. So of course, I strongly agree. Every government needs to attract new businesses. How that translates into a platform plank, I'm a little puzzled because it suggests that we're doing something wrong or not doing something right. And I'm not sure the underlying assumptions there. So, but there's another component to the question. Attract new businesses.
Develop the lagging areas such as the lower downtown by the historic train station.
Yeah, for those who watch the show regularly, we've been covering the lower downtown and developments down there for a long time, a lot of years. And for a while, no one was more strong than me, I don't think. Politicians, Democratic Town Committee and whatever, and trying to get the lower downtown to change its look. However, with the vote by the town council to put in a parking lot, they have put a stranglehold on the lower downtown. So I've washed my hands of it pretty much. The decisions have been made. The largest parcel that was available for redevelopment went for a parking lot, even though it is now. So I'm not sure what the question means other than handing out checks to the businesses, and I'm strongly against that.
Well, we'll disagree on that. But you know that the zoning in that area
Yeah.
passed with the understanding that anybody who redeveloped into 2-3 story buildings, et cetera, would be reliant upon that parking.
I do not know that. And that's an assumption that without evidence.
Well,
it has never been made. It's never been made.
Okay, well, it's in there.
Well, no, it's not. I don't think it is. So, I guess you're saying you're holding out for the possibility that someone was going to accumulate properties down there and build a bigger project?
No,
And would be that. Is that the assumption?
If that ever happened, there would have to be adequate parking for that. And there would have
Apparently that's the assumption.
There would have to be public parking.
Yeah.
The zoning that's approved down there, the incentive housing zone, has written in it conditions that would allow for more density than the typical zoning would allow for.
Of course.
Based on parking.
Sure.
So let's just say the implication is that there has to be other parking available.
No, I draw no such implication.
That is the understanding as far as I know.
Well, I don't think I disagree that that's the understanding. Right. I mean, everything I've seen is going to be on-site parking, and that's why density was lowered. And it was just a terrible price to pay for that hypothetical that what we're doing is waiting for a UFO to land, and the developer is going to come down, and we're going to have a parking lot built in advance for that contingency, foregoing the possibility that land could be sold for $600,000 to $1 million. You just weigh the equities back and forth. If money matters, you don't make it a parking lot.
Well, it's already a parking lot, so we improved it.
Yeah.
In hopes of encouraging the development around the area. So just as anything else, tomorrow a developer could come in and say, hey, I bought the barber shop.
Yeah, right.
I finally bought the only buildings that we couldn't sell anyway, and now
everything has changed.
I want to buy your lot. Now that whole area can be developed like you're saying.
We're digressing. Let's get back to the questionnaire.
It's the same concept. We
Let's
own the
get back-
property. We improved it because it looks like hell.
Okay, let's get back to the questionnaire.
An opening to the downtown.
What's the next question on the questionnaire?
Haha.
Uh-oh.
There's a question.
Yeah.
This is not it's not a position per se. This is a sort of really thinking how people think.
Okay.
District should be represented on town council by a resident of that district in order to voice concerns and respond to the unique needs of district neighborhoods. In other words, this may have been adjusted in the ongoing scripts because we've been talking about how to represent this, but the idea is we want to know how people feel about a potential change from the current at-large voting to a district-wide voting, and with the understanding that it would require a charter change. This is a big one, but we're curious how people feel about that.
Yeah, right. So I get it. So there's 9 districts and there'd be 9 head-to-head competitions, let's say council. That's how that would.
As it is in a lot of other towns. Or, you know what, even if it was drawn up, it would have to be drawn up through a charter revision.
Sure.
It very well could be that you do it similar to some towns. I don't know, I think Meriden this way, maybe, where there's a majority of it is district and the rest are still at large. Maybe so it's bigger than 9 perhaps. Or maybe it's 7 and 2 or 9 and 3.
Got it. And the reason for this would be what?
Well, the reason to be this is that because we're one of the few places that I'm aware of and that we've been told about where there's still the at large across the town. So many towns, mostly the cities, all of that.
Well, I don't care what they do. What's the
The
rationale?
idea is that you would be it's twofold.
Okay.
It allows each counselor to focus on a smaller area, when campaigning, to try to get closer to the people that they live in their own district. So people know that they're represented by somebody that lives in their district for issues that might just come up in that district. And I think it opens up the opportunity potentially for more people to potentially be maybe let's put it this way. It does take away potentially some of the advantages of incumbency that keep, that prevent new people from getting elected and make it harder for them to get elected. Somebody new and a little not known real well has to become known by the whole town.
Sounds like you're in favor of this. I'm getting a sales pitch here.
I'm actually presenting arguments that have been made by members of our group.
Right.
I'm not necessarily on board with this personally.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm not promoting it. I'm explaining it. Doing a hell of a good job.
So you're neutral on this? Because you have to answer this questionnaire too. Are you neutral on this?
I'm neutral on this right now.
All right.
Because I see the advantages of it, and I'm in office, and I've seen how it works in town for many years.
Yeah.
So I'm still up in the air on it, which I'm not afraid to say.
Okay. So let me.
I'm certainly happy to share the rationale for it because we're interested in how people feel about it, and I do agree that there's a lot of positive to it.
All right. So let me try to work through these issues here. I think it's really brave, frankly, of the Democratic Town Committee to suggest a voting system that could result in 9 Republicans and no Democrats on the Wallingford Town Council. In a town like Wallingford, this is a very dangerous proposition for the Democrats to promote. They could lose every single head-to-head election. That's just one on a sort of a count the votes sort of analysis. And also for a party in the minority, let's supposing the Democrats have 3 really good, strong, electable candidates, and they're all from the same district. And you take 2 of those great candidates and you say, bye-bye, we'll try you next time, because we have a new system. Only 1 Democrat could run from this district. So I'm not sure that, that works for me. And then I'm trying to figure out, why is it so important that you have and you explained it, but let me work through this last point. Why is it that valuable to anybody to have a counselor assigned to one district? It almost never happens that there's an issue before the Wallingford Town Council that depends on balkanization, regionalization, or a neighborhood sort of approach. It's budgets, it's approving labor agreements, it's ordinances, things like that. And as I talk, I'm trying to think, was there ever an example? But I do have one, it just popped into my head. Was there ever an example where it was useful to anybody to have, one counselor representing a district? And here's the example: one high school versus two. So all those counselors on the west side are going to be under pressure to vote for two high schools to save Sheehan, even though those counselors may believe one high school is best. So, I'm not sure that this regionalization, or whatever you want to call it, pitting one neighborhood against the other, and narrowing the focus, and it's no longer the best interest of the town, it's the best interest of the district. I'm uncomfortable with this, and the more I talk, I'm strongly against.
Okay, understood.
Sorry.
In your experience, your opinion, the Wallingford Public Schools excel in these areas?
Oh, you want me to list them?
Some, any,
I
one.
I can't. I mean, I
Okay.
don't have that specific expertise. I
Right,
think
right.
just generally, I think they do a good job from what I hear, and I can't go beyond that.
Just as if the other part would be they need to improve in these areas.
Again, my impression is they do a good job, with
Right.
what they have, and
Right.
out of my field to get.
Actually, that's a legitimate answer. I mean,
Yeah,
certainly you're going to hear from parents who have children in the schools, or recently had children in the schools, or work in the schools. And, we're looking for that input. That's good.
yeah.
How about this one? You might have a little opinion on this one. In your experience, the town of Wallingford excels in what areas?
Okay.
And I guess I can only assume we're looking for town Wallingford's government.
So I don't think. I think across the board, Wallingford departments. In my mind, I'm going department by department as you ask the question.
Right.
And as I do that, I think they generally all do a pretty good job, a good to pretty good job. So do they excel? Any one of them excel? I don't think excel is right. I mean, I think they're all, pretty good, reasonably well performing. So I'm going to say they're good. They're fine. I'm satisfied with their performance. It's as far as I can, as far as I can go.
So you would say Wallingford fulfills the expectations and obligations of its various departments.
I would say.
You have of the various departments.
Yeah, I would say if something specific were pointed out to me, I might say, yeah, I know you're right. They could bring up performance here or there, but in general, that's.
I think the town of Wallingford needs to improve in any area.
Yeah, there's a couple things. Let me search my memory banks. So I'm going to give you four things real quick, and I'm not going to be able to explain them all, as much as I
have one line.
I would like. I would like to see a greater emphasis on recreational park and rec kind of things, ball fields, the quality of fields, the array of amenities. And included in that, I want to see 2 splash pads, one on the east side and one on the west side, and we have the money for it. So there's that. As far Park and Rec, I think does a good job. I think there's a great array of activities now. So I just like to see more resources devoted to that area.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that on the negative side, there's a culture in Wallingford led by the mayor, where the government seems a little imperious to me. I think the culture has grown up of lack of transparency and secrecy. I do not like that. I think the money management gets a C-, and that's a subject we're going to talk about it in about 5 minutes. And C- is not acceptable. Maybe it's even a D+. But probably the single most expensive lost opportunity is the pension, how the pension is done. The investment policy borders on the irrational, and tens of millions of dollars are escaping Wallingford probably every year, not in the general fund, but I'm in the pension trust. And I'm not suggesting that we change the investment policy. What I'm suggesting, it's long overdue for a study to be done by someone objective like Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs or Bank of America, to plug in their algorithms. Where would we be today if we had followed Warren Buffett's advice 15 years ago, not invested in bonds, but invested in the S&P 500, equities, and kept enough cash on hand to weather, let's say, a 4-year downturn in the market? Where would we be today? And what increase or decrease in taxes would result from that? Not saying change our investment policy, and I'm not saying let's refer it to the pension commission. That's like asking the catcher for the New York Yankees to be the home plate umpire. No, we're not doing that. Get an objective expert and have them run the numbers under various investment scenarios, and then let's make that study public. And when we do that, if we make the appropriate recommended changes, be happy. But right now, we're wasting a ton of money. Your thoughts on that same question?
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the pension. No doubt about it. Yes, I believe and I believe this for a long time. Our departments, see, we have good people working in this town. We really do. Our departments do a fine job.
Yeah.
Of providing the services. My objection has always been with what I always saw was a short-sighted, overly conservative management style, which for many years worked very well for us, because what we really needed was a low-key conservative caretaker. You know that. And because you couldn't argue with the grand list we've had and the quality of what all Wallingford has to offer, based on what was done in the 70s in developing the industrial parks and all that. So a caretaker, while we missed a lot of opportunities, that we haven't really, up to this point, we've never felt the pain, because we've been so strong with just by managing it without taking any aggressive action to improve or to do this or do that. But that's changed. You see, our infrastructure slowly, just and every year, more and more deteriorates. The town just looks shabbier and shabbier. Just one example. Looks shabbier and shabbier. And then decisions get made, such as, we can't do the pool, or we're not going to do this, or maybe we don't need a government TV. Those are just the ones popping up recently. There's this sense of, digging in the heels and being ingrained with the same old style of managing the town, because the results have been such that the average homeowner can look at it on the surface and say, well, my taxes are relatively low. You know the story, every election. Taxes are relatively low, my services are good, he's done a fine job, why change? It's been hard to see the chinks, but it's getting more and more tarnished, and we're starting to see that. So that's right. That's right. I think the department's too fine. Management is stale and old, and I like the idea of, I would take a fresh look at everything. Frankly, pension's just one of them. A fresh look at every single thing in this town. And as you mentioned earlier, when we talk about technology, I recommended this when I ran 8 years ago. First thing I do is go to every department. Okay, what do you do? How could you do it better? What do you need? Let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
You may have did it, but leave it to the people that we know are doing a good job to let us know how maybe they could do their job better, more efficiently, and maybe a little easier, and a little more customer friendly. So that's the improvement I look for. Yeah. Thank you for your time, Mr. Burdinsky.
Well,
your responses are valued by our candidates.
I bet they are. Yeah.
Can the Democratic candidates count on your vote?
Well, they got to earn it. We got to see what their positions are.
Well, you seem enthusiastic about our campaign. Would you want to host a lawn sign?
Did I agree?
We want to volunteer.
Did I agree with anything? Oh, we agreed on the pool.
And I know you just mentioned earlier you like writing checks.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I
Send one over.
I love writing checks.
That's pretty much where we're at. It's
Okay.
I think overall I think it's a really nice approach to Democrats to reach out to them who may have felt neglected in years past.
Okay.
That's what this is all about. We're not like I said, we're not getting answers that you gave because then I know where you're coming from. But it's a way to ask people, are we on the right track with the way you see things?
Yeah, and
That's
it's also a good way to sort out who are the progressive Democrats that might be sympathetic to the campaign and who are not. So that questionnaire is also a filter. So for example, if I answered all the questions the way the group wanted me to answer, I'd probably be put down on a list as probable donor, probable lawn sign, follow to make sure they vote, put on the mailing list, put on the email list, put on the phone call list. But if I answered them like I did, I'd probably never hear from anybody again. Agree?
No, I don't agree.
Okay, good.
No. The intention is to not leave you alone.
Let's move on to another, because you're not going to change my mind. Let's talk about money. So it hasn't been published in the Record Journal, and it may never be, but there was what I would consider a blockbuster report by the comptroller, which set out the amount of money in the capital non-recurring fund, the amount of money that is unallocated. Unallocated means it is free to use for any capital project. It has not been assigned, it is unassigned, it has not been assigned to any particular purpose or cause. And it's a substantial amount of money. The old money allocated to date, I got to look at my numbers, I'm rounding it to about $1.8 million, but soon there'll be another 600,000 that is going to be freed up through administrative action. They're closing out old accounts. So it's going to equal about 2.4 million free and available and very spendable in the capital non-recurring fund. Vinnie Testa, as a man who might be mayor one day, how would you suggest that be treated?
Well, you answered that in your question to a certain extent.
Okay.
In that you stated that this money is available now.
Yeah.
For other capital projects.
Yes.
I think we can agree. I know we will probably disagree or somewhat on some interpretations of statutes and ordinances and the way this is all written. However, we can all agree that this money can only be used on what we would call capital projects.
Right.
Okay.
Such as pools and
it can be anything. It can be anything. It can't be used.
Bridges, buildings.
It can't be used for ongoing operating expenses.
Correct. So how would you use this 2.4, if any?
Well, that I can't commit to, but I tell you right now, at the top of my list of possibilities would be community pool.
So
if in fact,
yeah,
because each year, as you know, in the budget, we receive a pilot from the electric division, say $1.8 million, let's say whatever it is. We can always allocate more. And then any capital improvement plan is put forth to continue to maintain and improve our roads and our sidewalks and things of that nature. So it's not like if we and the money that's left over is because all of the projects have been completed that the money was earmarked for. So it's a little bit from here, a little bit from here. It's the leftover funds.
Or they were never started. Or they were never started.
Well, yeah, or they're not getting done.
Yeah.
So you're not going to take away.
No, but I need a cleaner answer from you.
No, I'm saying so
yeah.
I just want to say that. So to say I'm going to apply it to something else doesn't mean I'm going to take it away from doing roads and doing things, because we have money earmarked for that. The money this was supposed to be used for was, those projects were done. So at the top of the list, I would say, are there large scale capital projects that are important to us that we could do?
Are
And
there?
certainly the reason we didn't do community pool is because the mayor didn't want to indebt us. That kind of money right now at this particular point in time, you know as well as I do, you've stated it. It goes another couple of years, it's not going to ever get done. So I would potentially allocate this money towards that project.
Here's,
Potentially.
I understand. I want to work through this a little bit more though. We can all do high fives and say we've just allocated 2.4 million to community pool. The mayor cannot, sorry, the council cannot on its own rebid the pool project. Administratively, it has to be done by the mayor. If the mayor doesn't want to rebid it, your 2.4 million that's sitting excess cash in the capital non-recurring fund sits there forever. And that creates a bit of a problem for me.
I agree with you.
So if we take community pool off the table, arguendo, because we could always bond it, can I sign you up for 2 splash pads?
Sure.
Plenty of money in here for 2 splash pads. What else can I?
This could be, yeah, again, that could be, it's not going to pay for community pool anyway.
No,
Down payment, you don't bond as much.
it would help defray the
Maybe
bonding.
you put $1 million of it, $1.5 million towards it. All I'm saying is this is money we can put towards that project. I love this too. Well, you don't need 1 splash pad.
I want one on the east side and west side.
Well, if you do community pool, you only need 1 more.
No, I want 2 more.
Why?
Because community pool is not accessible to a lot of neighborhoods. And so I want moms and dads, oh yeah, I want moms and dads. And besides, not everyone has a pool pass. And besides that, not everyone is going to, maybe they don't buy a pool pass, but that you got to get a pool pass to get into the splash pad. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story as to what the birth of this. So a couple of years ago, we had the family down from Toronto. There were toddlers. It was a Sunday. We wanted a place to go. It was steaming hot. Couldn't get community pool pass on site. It was too late, over the weekend to get a pass. So we couldn't go swimming. And that time of day, we didn't want to go down to Hammonasset. Went to Doolittle Park under the pavilion and roasted, just roasted. It was hot and there wasn't enough shade. I'm betting we're not the only ones in that position. I bet the neighborhood, the moms and dads all around that area would love to walk to Doolittle Park, have a splash pad, and those are community pool. They have theirs too. And then on the west side, there's a lot of neighborhoods in the exact same situation. Little kids need something to do for like 45 minutes or 30 minutes. You walk them down to the splash pad, they scream and yell and jump in the water. They burn off some steam, and you don't have to invest in pool passes for mom and dad and the family of 4 to go to community pool. There plenty of money in the capital non-recurring fund. It changes the quality of life, dramatically during the summer for a bunch of neighborhoods, and that's why I want it. That's all.
How much they cost?
We got to price it out. They're not cheap, but we have certainly at 2.4 million. We can have a bundle of, but I just want 2
What's
more.
a splash pad? 400,000?
I don't think quite that much.
There you go.
Yeah, I think it depends on the plumbing, and a lot of unknowns. But hey, you could have Park and Rec put out, some sort of an RFP for a design.
We have a lot of schools. We have a lot of locations.
Yeah, exactly. Highland School would be perfect. Pond Hill would be great.
You can have your splash pads.
All right. What else would you do with the 2.4?
I would just do another analysis of what needs to be done around town.
All right.
And apply it to whatever projects are needed. I think we're behind. You made a little comment to me once that not recently, where you don't want to hear I'm going to pave roads, I'm going to fix sidewalks, because that's ongoing all the time anyway, and that's not going to win a campaign. Maybe you're right as a campaign issue, but frankly, I'd be fixing a hell of a lot more sidewalks with that money.
So,
Nothing else. Get rid of those darn asphalt patches
yeah.
where people are going to trip over. Um, so I'd be looking at that. I'd be looking at just physical improvements, uh, that need to be done. When you have the money, you do it.
So I want to put up a couple of slides, and I'm going to edit these slides in. I'm not going to do a screen share, but one slide has the money in the capital non-recurring fund, and it ends up to be 2.4 million. That slide should be up now, and I ask how it should be used. And everyone in town and every counselor should be asking themselves the same question. How do we get this money? Why has it been socked away sort of under the radar? And what do we do with it now? And you and I have made a little bit of progress on that. So, that's
Sure.
that's a plus, but it's an issue I hope is going to be discussed during the budget workshop. But the capital non-recurring is not the only source of money for capital projects. There's other sources of money. And so I put together another little JPEG I want to put up, and I call it money in curious capital accounts. And I use the word curious because we should be curious about them. So hopefully that slide is up now, but there's about 5 million plus in various capital accounts. And no one really knows what the plans are. And, eventually, or at some point in time, they had to go through the hands of the council, and the council probably could have gotten a grip on what it wanted to use the money for. But right now, a lot of it's being stashed away and unused. So not only is the capital non-recurring fund a source of funds for these capital projects, we have various capital accounts that are sitting out there with a lot of money in them. And in addition, we have new money coming in. Oh, it's only $800,000, but new town aid road money, $800,000, not taxpayer money, grant money, add that to the road fund. And there's something called LOCIP, Local Capital Improvement Funds. It's about $300,000 coming in from the state. So the point I'm trying to make, without getting too in the weeds or too specific, there's a lot of cash out there for capital improvements. And I am hoping, and have my fingers crossed, that the council gets a little more aggressive and attentive to all these sums of money, because it implicates this question. Does the capital non-recurring fund need more money? And if you think it does, why do you think that? Because there's lots of money in the capital non-recurring fund I haven't even talked about yet, already earmarked for roads and sidewalks and guardrails and street lights, stored in there. And there's enough money to last maybe one fiscal year or even 2 fiscal years. So I'm not sure the capital non-recurring fund needs even more new money. Your thoughts on my thoughts?
I'm willing to look into that. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't agree or disagree.
Yeah.
I can agree with this.
Yeah.
We should have a darn good answer for you.
Yeah.
And I'll hopefully I'll have one.
I can hear, I like to sort of, in my dreams, fantasize what a budget workshop is going to look like. And I can hear some poor counselor sort of raising their hand and, asking Rob Bulchamitis and Jim Bowes if he's at the budget workshops. And I think he will be, but I'm not sure of that. You say, Jim or Mayor, how is the town aid road money, the new money, going to be used? Answer, I'm not going to tell you. Well, how is the LOCIP money going to be used? Answer, we'll think about it. Well, but you're asking us to approve that. Well, do it without any questions. Don't be impertinent. Do what you've done every single year in the past. Pass this money with no questions asked, and we'll use it as we see fit, or not use it and store it away like we have done in the past. And I can hear Vinnie Cervoni interrupting. Well, what does the capital, the town aid road money have to do with the budget? What does LOCIP money have to do with the budget? What do these old capital accounts have to do with the budget? And the answer is, we're not sure that the capital non-recurring fund needs any new money unless we know about the old money. So first we got to judge the old money and what it can be used for, because it could be used for roads, bridges, perhaps also. So fill us in on all the details, and then we can make a decision on the new money going to the capital non-recurring. Our time is running out, but I'm going to let you have the last word on that general topic, anywhere you want to go. And just one last thing that'll, I think, maybe add grist to your mill. The mayor's budget, you know, the various department budgets, that's not where the real money is. That's not where the fun is. That's chipping away at nickels and dimes, and you know, that's minor stuff. Given Jim Bose's new revelation, you know, about all this money there. So I wouldn't want to see the council pecking away at, do you need fewer postage stamps, or can you save on a gallon of gas? It's the big bucks that's out there that needs to be, you know, examined and well used. Your thoughts to wrap this show up?
Well, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I used to get frustrated when we would question a department head about, you know, $1,000 for this or that. It's not that I wouldn't care about $1,000 of taxpayers' money, but just as you mentioned, that's the stuff they want us to, the mayor wants us to ask about.
Yeah.
That's the stuff he wants us to hammer. But for somebody who's there in the job, putting together the budget to do the job, we just said they do well. To get to the point where they're in front of us, they had to justify the hell out of that $1,000, and we're not getting anywhere, other than some kind of symbolic gesture, which some of us are really good at, by denying that person $1,000, or grilling a bunch of senior citizens about a $3,500 budget because they don't have a spreadsheet with all of their expenditures laid out. That's nonsense. So I agree with you. The big issues are in the funds you're talking about. The more we learn about this money that's been sitting for a long time, the more we need to become more familiar with where it came from, why is it available still, and what are our plans for it? What are our plans for all the new money? What are we going to do with this money from the federal government, from the stimulus? We didn't talk about that one. We'll get to that another time. That's a beauty. I will tell you this. I have to do this. I'm sorry. If we find out that there's going to be a plan put together to try to redistribute or try to distribute this money to local businesses through some type of conduit organization, that was my idea 2 months ago.
And I strongly disagree. I strongly disagree.
We have a program like this. Can't we put this together? A mayor's fund, and so forth. Is there any money still available for that? And even something that could conduit donations from the community to assist all of these restaurants and businesses. Well, if this money is used for that, you know, I'll be happy to hear it. But there are other ways we can use that money as well.
Well, I promised to give you the last word, and I'm still going to, but I'm going to interject here.
Yeah.
And let you react to my thinking. Your comment was triggered by a couple sentences in the mayor's cover memo on the budget, where he mentioned these federal funds coming, and general government's going to get 4 million plus. And in his memo, the mayor said he had already asked the Economic Development Commission to set up a process, an application and a process, which suggests that maybe the Economic Development Commission has a dog in the fight or has some role in dispersing the money. But if anyone has a role in dispersing the money, it's a zero-sum game. If $1,000 goes to one business, that means another business doesn't get it. Right. And it also means that there opens up a wide opportunity for influence and favoritism, and I think that stinks. And it smells, and I don't like it. Mm-hmm. So I'm very wary of some sort of a conduit organization passing out $4 million. I hate the idea. In every show I do, if that gains traction, I'm going to rail against it. So what? No one listens anyway, except 2 viewers, one of which is my wife. The better idea, I think, is to not give it, but to defray sewer costs, because the sewer rates are going to go up. I think it's about almost 10%. Everyone, you know, on the public sewer, some are businesses, some are residences, some are rich, some are poor, but at least it's a bureaucracy already in place, and you defray a sewer cost. You don't get into this battle of who's getting the money and who's not. And if there's some well-connected restaurant or country club or businessman who says, I suffered a $10,000 loss, I won $10,000, I want to see his net worth, because it could be worth $1 million, and he shouldn't get a dime. It's the little guys that got laid off, that ran up credit card debt, that are on the verge of eviction. They're the ones that should get it. They're the ones that need it. But I don't even like sorting through those people. Give it to the sewer division on the condition that sewer costs are cut back over 2 years or 1 year or 3 years. Now you have the final word, but you got to be really pithy because we only have a minute left.
No, that's okay. I like I like the warning.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wholeheartedly agree. I read that and heard that, and I also, little alarm bells go off. I respect those people. Don't get me wrong, but something like this would have to be managed in such a way that you can never eliminate concerns about fairness, but you certainly better mitigate them to the point where accusations of unfairness would be unreasonable to make.
Yeah.
So, and that can be done. Let's just see what they have in mind. I like the idea you brought up though. So that's we need to look at ways we can utilize that money to benefit the most people possible, the most possible.
Let's make that the final word. Vinnie, thanks for coming back on the Susan Mike Show. We appreciate it. Got to thank the viewers for tuning in too. We're here on a Wednesday. It started at about 3:15, and we hope to have it up on YouTube Wednesday night, maybe on Thursday. Want to thank WPA for putting the show on their channel on Thursdays, Fridays, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Vinnie, see you next time. Good night, everybody.
Hi, Ann.